Hmm. Why wouldn't it let me send the screenshot? Let me tell you something. What do you call it? The music in this game is really good. I don't even get it. All right, so at least I know that that's probably a good enough volume for today. Looking back, I don't want to be in Discord at the moment. I don't know why it said that. I'm sending too many caps in my messages, according to the robot. Don't do that. Anything but that. Mic test real quick. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's probably pretty good. We don't need to go much louder than that. That's probably, just fine. But, anyways. As much as I don't really like the sound quality of this headset, it is easier because now I don't need to actually yell, which is nice. Because typically, I'm very loud, as you probably know. But that's all right. We can make do with this. Is this Tate McRae? What song is this? It is Tate McRae. That's what I thought. Ooh. Is that perhaps a hypercar coming to... I looked for roller skates one time on Facebook Marketplace, and now every single recommendation I get is roller skates. Ooh, this guy's in Woodbury. That is not too far. $50. Hmm. Go on. How far away is that? It's only just a little bit up the road. Huh, not bad. What time is the NASCAR race today? We already had IndyCar this morning, which is weird. Race today. Oh, it's already going. At 15 of 68. 3 minutes to go time here. Only 15 on the grid. I could have swore we were going to be doing full qualifying, but it doesn't appear that that's going to be taking place if this holds, which is unfortunate. I am tired, man. I'll tell you that much. It has been car damage on standard. Well, that's about the track you want to do it at, is Monaco, has to be said. Oh, now we have 18. Pretty sure like 19 is. Oh no, we do have. Well, who are missing seats here? Both Red Bulls, and just the other Williams. So we've got 18 out of 20, which I think even if we have 19, that'll be good enough for Reimer repping Bolivia tonight. I was trying to put together what flag that was. Bolivia, yeah, it is. Interesting choice. The only time I ever changed flags was once um there was one time I raced and it was St. Patrick's Day, so I put on the Irish flag. That was about it. Although I think maybe I flew the Italian and the German once or twice. That's about it, though. I know my flag. Well, I tell you what, that one had me be. I know a couple of them. Like I'm still trying to figure out if Fear Lukes is Dutch or Luxembourg. I'm pretty sure it's Luxembourg. I could be wrong because I think the Dutch is a darker blue, isn't it? I thought it was Ghana for a little bit. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought it was thinking of some African country, but well, anyways, 15 seconds. Start the hard recording now. I'm hopefully I have enough disk space to continue doing the hard recordings. I don't need to if I have the stream, but it is Luxembourg. Yeah, that's what I thought. Took me a little while. Took me about 4 races to figure that out. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to correct. Light blue is Luxembourg. Thank you, Mr. Cheb. We are here today at the Monaco City Street Circuit for the what is this? The 8th round of the JAG Sunday Series. And oh, by the way, we've got full qualifying on tap for you today as well. We are in for the long haul. Not only the full qualifying session, but all 39 laps yet to come of the Monaco Grand Prix here. Hotspot on the call. What's Cavoli's? Oh, I didn't quite see. Oh, hang on. Let me rewind the film. I don't know why invested in trying to figure out what this is. Be a good one for you to guess. Cavoli. Oh, that's Oh, I've seen that one before as well. I'll have to take a minute to think because I don't know it off the top of my head. I have seen that somewhere. Well, anyways, so daytime here in Monaco. The great Memorial Day weekend transition, at least for the United States, even though they don't know that. It's great. The Monaco Grand Prix usually always lines up with both the Indy 500 later that day and then the Coca-Cola 600 in NASCAR even later that night. So Monaco usually, whenever this weekend happens in real life, it does become one of the best weekend traditions in motorsport, at least from the American perspective. And then what is it? I think Le Mans is not that far after. I was gonna say Lithuania. I thought I was wrong. That's the only reason why I didn't say it. I was gonna say like I thought it was Lithuania, but I thought that one was the one with like the Austrian like red on two sides and a very thin white line through the middle. I don't know. Anyways, we've got cars on track. It's going to be Maple Ace in the Aston Martin. Let's take a look at the drivers and constructor standings at the moment as we head into the 8th round of the season. Currently, as it stands, we've got Zench still atop the leaderboard by a total of 185 points to Reimer's 155. It's a 30-point gap between the top two. Marsbar a little bit further behind at 107. Fairluke not all that far behind Marsbar at 105, and then Maple Ace 5th, DWCJ 6th, Stim 7th, 8th is Cheb, 9th Mandy K, and 10th is Bergen. That's your top 10 for the driver standings. Lafia, that is the one I'm describing. Yes, correct. As far as constructors are concerned, Haas is just running away with this one. 262 points, Ferrari 207, Williams 168, AlphaTauri 129, Aston Martin 127. Good battle there for 4th, as well as Red Bull and Alfa Romeo 117, 115, and Alpine 114. Great battle there going on for the 4th spot. McLaren 89 and Mercedes at 20th. Just a quick little look at the schedule coming up. We do have France next week, which I won't be here for because I'm traveling back home. Great Britain, Silverstone for round 10, and Las Vegas, the final round of the season. Flags with Hotspot, always a great time. Into Saint-Devat, the first corner of the Monaco City Street Circuit. The often adage, no heroics into Saint-Devat. We may be seeing some of that today. Up through Beau Rivage now into the left-hander of Massenet. It's a tricky left-hander, this, because it does get more narrow as you go through the corner. Through Casino, turn 4. Avoid the tree root right there. As you can see, Maple Ace is driven right over it. Into Mirabeau now, and then down the hill in towards the Grand Hotel hairpin. One of the only true first gear corners you will have on the F1 schedule. Sometimes people will take the Neuville chicane in first gear. Sometimes we'll see people take Saint-Devat first gear. Through the hairpin, one of the only true first gear corners on the whole schedule. Through the tunnel now in towards Neuville chicane. One of the worst chicanes in Formula 1, if you ask me. Needs to be gotten rid of. Exiting there, heading in towards Tabac, turn 12. The left-hander, always see some incidents through here. The outside wall does get really close to you there. Through Louis Chiron and then the swimming pool after that. And then it's into Rascasse and the Anthony Nogues sections here. Monaco, the oldest track on schedule. One of the oldest tracks on schedule. I believe the first Grand Prix was somewhere in... I think the first race was in 1929 where Anthony Nogues, the cigarette manufacturer, and the Auto Club of Monaco wanted to get a motor race going, and they used the town. Zench has gone second behind Maple Aces, 111.741. Good attempt there. But as we go through these first couple of laps here, we won't be seeing many drivers throw all caution to the wind. Remember, this is the full qualifying. So what that means is if you do have an off here in the qualifying session, you do automatically not make it through to Q2. We saw that a couple of weeks ago with a different league I did, and, well, at the end of it, we had about 7 minutes remaining in Q1, and people just decided to not do it because, well, they had already made it through. Greg has gone 110.673. Great lap from him. Next across the line, one of the two McLarens, going to be that of Short Marcus, 116.207. Well, he's on the intermediates as well. I think he's playing around with the tire availability, and that's kind of what he's done there. Neat strategy, and, you know, well, I mean, the intermediates, you're never going to see those in the dry like this in real life, but, hey, tell you what, what works, works. Cavolis has gone P6 there next to the line. Looks like we're going to have probably the Mercedes. It's going to be Smale or it's going to be Weg. It's going to be the Mercedes of Weg, making his way through Rascasse and Anthony Nogues now. Out of the final corner, got to be careful in the barrier on the outside, and Anthony Nogues, and he's done quite well. To the line he goes. Going to be a good-looking time, 1:13.666. Puts him 8th at the moment. This is really good. We're seeing plenty of drivers get times on the board, which is what needed to happen here. I think, again, we're not going to see many drivers really push the limit here until we get more into Q2 and into Q3. So for now, I think these drivers just kind of doing a little bit of reconnaissance, trying to get their car. Small is Algeria tonight. Oh, very good. Okay, good looks there, because I would have never have known that. But anyways, yeah, really what we're going to see here is drivers, fight to put the time on the board, keep the car clean. If they're in danger, they'll go out. But if you're a driver like Jag, Greg, Maple Ace, and DWZJ, and in fact anywhere in the top 5 here, you're just probably going to do this one attempt, and then we're going to come back into the pits. Probably nothing more than that. Manny K has gone 10th with a 1:13.598. That's good enough to move the McLaren to 10th. Next up, one of the 2 Ferrari drivers, and I believe it will be Bergen, making his way in here. No, he's going to stay out one more time. Let's see. Does he have enough for a timed lap? Yes, he does. So Bergen has done the idea to do 2 timed attempts here in through Saint Devote. Now, going to be up the hill through Beau Rivage and in towards Massenet. He's got clear track ahead of him, which is always good to have on the Monaco City Street Circuit, which spans nearly the entire length of the Principality here, known for its glitz and glamour. And it's known for a rich history of Grand Prix racing, not as much anymore, but still always good to visit. Through the hairpin now, looks pretty good. He was about a 10th slower through that first sector. In fact, yeah, clean 10th slower through the first sector is the Ferrari of Bergen, making his way out of Portier and down through the tunnel now. Well, I've gotten Facebook messaged. Apologies for that. Into the Neuville chicane. Wow, look how close he got to the inside there. Probably paper thin there. That's a very common mistake you'll see made, is you'll see a driver try to take too much to the inside of the Neuville chicane. Maybe perhaps we'll get lucky and see Zench do it here as he makes his way down. Just that red barrier on the inside there, ever so close to the inside. That one is a very common mistake to be made, and I'm sure we're going to see plenty of drivers do that tonight. But a driver who has yet to put together a timed attempt is Reimer in the Ferrari, currently making his way through Tabac, through what section of the track is this? Is probably about the 10th race I've casted in Monaco. Louis Chiron is the name of that. Eventually you'll think I have all the corner names memorized. Not quite. Through Anthony Nogues now. Down the pit straight he goes. Trying not to take any more of the pit boards. Oh, goodness me, did you see that? Well, that was Reimer completing his timed lap there, and that was the Williams of Giusterini coming out of the pit lane, nearly having a massive accident there for Reimer. Giusterini, though, I will say, if I look at this again, now that I have some good internet here, I'm able to have my laptop and the display going side by side with the actual race. I think Giusterini he was right. He was within the pit line there, the yellow line coming out of the pit lane. There is no problems there with how Giusterini did that. I'm afraid Reimer, well, if he was to crash, it would have been on his own mistake there. So, but either way, he's been able to keep it clean, and the Williams yet to put together a timed attempt. Remember, we're going to be losing the bottom 3 drivers, I believe. Yeah, losing the bottom 3, so that'll be P16, 17, and 18 of the 3 that we will kick off the island here. Reimer making his way. Well, he's gone a 1:11.2 on a set of medium tires. One of the only 2 drivers on the grid to take the medium tires, that being Reimer and then Short Marcus, I believe, trying to set the mediums now. His lap currently set on intermediate tires. But Reimer on the mediums. Not a bad idea. All he knows is he's got to be within the top 15. And he'll bring it back into the pit lane. So, it's either bottom 3 or 4. I think it'll probably be 3, because it is P15 is the bubble. And then everything else back goes out. I could be wrong, but still yet to have anybody crash out here. Again, if you do crash out, you are automatically not through to the next round, no matter what your time is. That is something. Sometimes it adjusts depending on how many drivers there are. Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. Neat little piece of information that I'll have to keep in mind. I think it probably will be just the bottom 3, although I could be wrong. We'll have to wait and see. So, that either 15th or 16th spot is the one that's going to be in trouble. So as long as you're P14 and above, you should be all right. But still a lot of time left here, as we do have now the Alfa Romeo of peak hour making his way. Currently resides 13th. 8 minutes 20 seconds into Saint-Devat goes the Alfa Romeo now. Up the hill through Beau Rivage, heading towards Massenet. That usually provides some fun action there, Beau Rivage. Sometimes you'll get lucky and see somebody go side by side. And I think if people crash in DNF, the car is fixed for Q2. Well, what's interesting is this. A couple of weeks ago, we had in the CCRL, another league that I commentate, we had a full qualifying session in Montreal. I believe it may have been actually this previous week or this past Wednesday. And we did have people not only crash in Q1 and not make it through, but also crash in Q2 and not make it through. Because I think we started Q2 with only 14. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I could be wrong. But a driver who here is in trouble is going to be that of Goon in the AlphaTauri, making his way back around the line. Currently resides 5.1 seconds off the pace. Oh, and he's clobbered the wall there going through Saint-Devat. And he has lost the end plate on the left front side. That was a massive impact there, and he's actually quite lucky he hasn't fully crashed. It's only just the front wing that's been impacted there, because that was a noticeable shunt. Manny Kay going through Sector 1, 0.3 of a second quicker for the McLaren, currently residing in P15, 2.9 off the pace. 0.3 of a second. A short Marcus in the McLaren goes 1:10.667, 5/1000ths of a second better than Jag Greg. Well, I tell you what, looking at competition early here, Goon is on controller tonight, as I'm pretty sure he's broke his leg and couldn't use his leg. Well, I tell you what I will say is this game in particular has made being on controller at least usable. Remember, and there's another collision with the outside wall there. Doing his best to get around the circuit, if that is true, if he's broken his leg. I think this game at least makes being on controller a little bit more usable. As remember the last game, you had to just, the last generation of games I played on controller for the longest time. In fact, only 2 years ago was it that I first got my wheel here. You just had to really flick the stick pause as much as you possibly could to make the car seem like it was smoothing through the corner, because it was either that or you would be full input or not input at all. Now it's more of what Gran Turismo 7 does. You put the controller all the way down, but it gradually turns as a real car would. So controller definitely more usable than it used to be, but going back and forth from one to the other, never helpful. And I'm assuming Goon is going to be a little bit, that's going to be a tricky one for him tonight. Best of luck, because he could need it. Up the hill now, through a Beau Rivage and heading to Massenet is that of Rise, making his way now. Currently resides 14th. What is that? Oh, well, not residing anywhere anymore. And matter of fact, he's into the pit lane as he has clobbered the wall going to the inside of Casino. Just taking a little bit too much of the inside, and that's going to be the end of the session for Rise. And thankfully, that car cleared away from the track quickly as Algeri making his way through Casino now. Past the scene of the accident. Oh, big slide! And that car only missing a front wing. He's a bit lucky there, because that was another hefty impact. And, 4.5 minutes remaining here. That one's going to be tricky to get back around to the pit lane, get the car back put in one piece, and then out on track for another attempt. Currently 17th. We do have Cavolis making his way into the hairpin now on an out lap. Only a couple of drivers. Matter of fact, one driver on a timed lap. It is that of Bergen. He is slower by over a tenth heading into sector. Well, that was through Sector 1. Let's see what he is at Sector 2. Through to back. 14/1000ths quicker through Sector 2, through the swimming pool, now heading towards Rasgas and Anthony Nogues. 4 minutes remaining here in Q1. We've lost Rise, the only DNF of the session so far. Through the final corner is Bergen. Down the pit straight he goes. Be sure to not clobber any of the pit boards hanging over the wall to the inside. Bergen will go 9th, 1:12.309. Improves by just under 0.2 of a second. Not bad, but I think for Q2 he will need more than that. When he hit the wall there going up through Beau Rivage. Well, Cavola starting a timed lap now, the Williams driver up the hill into Massenet and Casino after that. Not too shabby, a bit better than my medium run. Well, I think, has Cavolas hit the outside wall there going at a Casino? It certainly looked as if he did. Yeah, he did, ever so slightly. I tell you what, that is a very good attempt to have a 1:10.667. And, well, it's going to be interesting as well, because I think what we're going to see is that if you're able to make it through to Q2 and Q3, as you'll probably make it to Q2, definitely. If you're able to make it through to Q3, you almost look at it as another practice session. These drivers being eliminated from Q1 and Q2 are going to have such a hard time in the race because, as Cavolas goes around, exiting the Neuville chicane, he's almost gone to where the Formula E drivers used to race at the exit of the Neuville chicane. But these Q1 and Q2 sessions are almost viewed as practice more than anything else, because if you are eliminated in Q2, or even worse in Q1, it's almost like you're completely going into the race cold. You're not warmed up. You're not accustomed to how the circuit and how the car is going to react. It's such a difficult time. So having done that, 1:10.667, very good attempt, and hopefully you'll be able to follow it up into Q2 and getting into Q3 there. Cavolas is probably... I'm a little surprised as he's starting another one here. 2 minutes to go. It doesn't appear that he's lost any front wing on that little accident there he had coming out of Anthony Nogues. Or not Anthony Nogues, the Neuville chicane. Through Massenet, through Casino now. Across the line was the Williams of Giustarini. He's gone fourth. Got the McLaren to the outside there of Manny Kay, not really in the way. And now providing the McLaren a little bit of clean track. Giustarini making his way. Well, he's finished his. Who were we on with? We were on with Cavolas. Yes, and the Williams here. Making his way through the tunnel now. Fear Luke, I believe, has done it in the pit lane. Thankfully enough, in towards the Neuville chicane now. Handles it well. Not too much curb on the inside. Does well. Gonna go put the kettle on. Yeah, you do that, mate. Doing quite well at the moment. I think he may have had... Well, he's had contact there going through to back. He had a little bit on the outside coming out of the... well, something has happened in the sports world. Coming out of the Neuville chicane, I think he may have hit the outside wall as well. Cavola stays on his timed lap. A minute to go here. DRS activated coming out of Anthony Nogues. On the pit straight he goes. Look at a good time. He's gone 13th. 1:12.612. Improves by 3/100ths. He will need more, and I think he's going to try to put together another timed lap here. Only some drivers out on track. Mid in the Alfa Romeo, 23/1000ths slower through Sector 1 into the hairpin he goes. We do have the Mercedes of Smale, otherwise known as Algeri this evening. As Algeri making his way through Rascasse into Anthony Nogues now, getting ready to start his timed attempt, his final one. 22 seconds remain. So to the line goes Algeri. Weg making his way to another timed lap now. He's invalidated his previous attempt, but he will get to the line in time. Coming up next, one of the Alfa Romeos is going to be Peak Hour, who currently 0.6 of a second quicker through Sector 2. Through the timing... Well, I tell you what, he has improved by 6.5 of a second, stays 14th. That is not a good place to be there for the Alfa Romeo. He's got a couple of drivers coming around on timed laps now. Cavolas, who doesn't look as if he's improving this lap, 13th for him. We'll have to wait and see if he's able to keep going. Manny Kay through Sector 2 now, through through Sector 3. One of the AlphaTauris getting out of the way. Let's see if the McLaren, who has been on a couple of good races here recently, been towards the top end of the grid. I think a couple of bad luck instances has prevented the McLaren from getting some good points. And, well, Manny Kay has decided that's all for now. And Manny Kay is out of qualifying here. So is the AlphaTauri of Goon. We do have the pair of the Mercedes drivers coming through here. Algeri, who I believe does that say 2 seconds slower through Sector 2 in towards when he's hit the wall again, and even more trying to get out of the way of his teammate here. Weg making his way through Rascasse into Anthony Nogues, down the pit straight, and this will be the final timed lap of the session. Weg to the line, and he will stay 12th, slower by 8.5 of a second. So, as Peak Hour makes his way into the pit lane here, pretty sure he'll be safe. Rise on back will be the 4 drivers to be eliminated from qualifying, but short Marcus, a 1:10.667. Interesting there. So Rise, I would say, kind of a big player here, and he's out of qualifying early. Peak Hour has had a I don't want to say lackluster session, but P14, you'd expect a little bit more from the Alfa Romeo, and he's really in the danger zone here, has to be said. Just waiting for peak hours Alfa Romeo to enter the pit here. No, it's already in. Oh, there it is. So, Q1 results. Short Marcus 1:10.667, fastest lap of Q1. Greg second, Reimer third, Justerini fourth, Fearluke fifth, and Zench sixth, seventh Maple Ace, eighth Bergen, ninth DWCJ, Jag Cheb rounding out the top 10. I believe we do lose. Yep, Rise, Manny K, Smale, otherwise known as Algeri, and Goon, the bottom four. And I think we wouldn't have lost Rise, but he did DNF there, crashed, and, well, he's out of the session. He's out of qualifying. So, top 14 into Q2, and those drivers being eliminated here are going to have one hell of a time trying to be competitive in the race because they will be cold. Two more qualifying sessions yet to come here for the 8th round of the season. Short Marcus, looks a good lap from him already. Let's see if he can follow it up. So I have not been told if any adverse weather is on the way or not, at least in-game. For the time being, looks, I don't want to say clear, but good enough. Into the streets for Q2 here. Let's see who the first driver out on track is going to be. As I'm going to check my Facebook message really quick. I don't really know what that was for. Here we go. Yes, 15 minutes on the clock. Bottom four to be eliminated here.
Expect the air temperature to be somewhere in the region of 18 to 20 degrees at this time of year. If the weather in recent years' Grand Prix weekends is anything to go by, it'll be very difficult to predict. But do make sure to keep both your suntan lotion and umbrella in hand. Despite being an active Grand Prix circuit,
It looks as if the first driver out on track is going to be the Haas of... Well, it will be DWCJ making his way out onto the track. I tell you what a narrow pit exit it is as well. Look at it, it's very close there. I wouldn't feel good about trying to drive in that. Well, DWCJ first driver out on track is followed by the Williams of Justerini, and one of the Ferrari drivers looks going to be Bergen out on track next. Remember the bottom four being eliminated here, P11 on back. And, well, if Q1 was anything to go by, there was a lot of competition in that midfield. A lot of drivers, I think everything from, the top two on back was almost outside of a second, well, of the top two. But we saw a lot of drivers in that same 113 range of each other. So I'm expecting a competitive session here. Still the Haas of DWCJ first out on track, making his way into the Neuville chicane now. We'll have to wait and see what the Haas driver does here. I tell you what, he has played a great season so far, especially if you consider Zench being his teammate. I mean, a lot of times drivers will get really disheartened by having such a dominant driver as your teammate, but DWCJ has rolled with it, and he's done very well, still doing his best to put in the best result that he can for this Haas team. And, well, let's see if he's able to put together a good one here. Lap underway for DWCJ through... Saint-Devant now up through Beau Rivage and in towards Massenet atop the hill, the left-hander here. Looks pretty good so far. Oh, he's hit the wall there, I think, going out of Massenet and into Casino. But still keeps on his time here into the hairpin coming up now. A little bit of lag or connection going on here for DWCJ. It's very difficult when you get a league like this which is so, internationally diverse. It's very difficult to have everybody on the same, wavelength as far as the connection is concerned. And I think that sometimes when you have lag like this, unless it really impacts you, it's not worth making a fuss about. But DWCJ through Tabac now through... oh my God, I forgot it again. It's Louis Chiron. That's it. I shouldn't be forgetting this bad, but DWCJ out of Anthony Nogues now, down the pit straight he goes, and across the line, looks it's going to be a 1:11.867. That's a pretty good lap. Will it be enough for Q2? I'm not sure, but that is a good lap to at least have on the board there for the Haas driver. Giustarini coming around the line now, and it looks as if it's going to be a good lap for him. A 1:13.023. He is slightly, I don't want to say disappointing is not the word, but slightly less than I would have thought, as Jag Greg a 1:10.655. Good lap from him. Maple Lace in that time has gone second. Bergen has gone fourth at a 1:12.646. To the line next up, one of the Alfa Romeo drivers. It's going to be that of Peak Hour, making his way into Raskas and Anthony Nogues after that. And no, he's going to go into the pit lane, chooses Peak Hour. Cavolis making his way out of the final corner now and down the pit straight. To the line goes Cavolis, P7, 1:13.681. Slower than his teammate by about 0.6 of a second there. That'll need some work to do, but again, good to have a time on the board. Weg making his way through Anthony Nogues now. Behind him, the Haas of DWCJ, who is going to be on his in-lap here. Both the Williams still 1-2. P8 on back, as you can see, yet to put together their timed attempt. Only 7 drivers having a time on the board for the time being. Short Marcus making his way into Mirabeau now, who took the top spot in Q1. Arguably the driver to beat so far, but this is when we really start to see, separate the men from the boys here in Q2. Q1 is really just about getting a time on the board that's competitive enough to be okay. This now is really about putting the pedal to the metal here. Weg making his way out of Portier now, in through the tunnel and heading towards the Neuville chicane. No time on the board yet for the Mercedes, his teammate being knocked out in Q1. I tell you what, really well handled there so far. Into Tabak now, looking pretty good, and he's held it well through Louis Chiron, the best camera angle in racing history, has to be said. Through the swimming pool, he's taken a lot of curb there. A little surprised he didn't invalidate. That was a lot of curb taken. Through Raskas into Anthony Nogues now. Going to halfway decent lap this. Down the pit straight he goes, and it's going to be P5, 1:12.370. That's not bad. Right in about the middle there so far, and now P9 on back, all coming out on outlaps here. So the first round of timed laps done. We're going to see Mid, Reimer, Zench, Short Marcus, and Peak Hour and Sheb make their way now. Peak Hour, again, was on track earlier, didn't put together a timed attempt. Marcus making his way up through Beau Rivage and Massenet now, the driver who took the top spot in Q1. Let's see what he can do here as he goes through Massenet, through Casino next. Ooh, a little bit of wheel spin on there on exit of Casino, not bad. And a little bit of a lockup there going into Mirabeau. That car sliding all over the place, you can tell. I mean, this car is visibly a handful right now for Marcus, but he's holding it together. It's an interesting balance, this track, because you need the maximum amount of downforce for all these tight corners, but at the same time you don't want the car to be undrivable. And Marcus may be still having to find that balance a little bit. Through Anthony Nogues, doing well. He's kept the car off the barriers for the most part. He's had a couple of close calls, nothing worth crying about yet. Through Sector 2, doing well. Into Raskas now. Let's see. Oh, he's gone deep through it, hasn't he? Yes, he has. Gonna ride that outside through Anthony Nogues. Back on the throttle he goes and down the pit straight. Across the line is Short Marcus. 109.623. Now, let me tell you something. That lap arguably looked worse than the one I saw he was on before. But a 109.623... well, that has rather blown the time out of the water that he set in Q1. That is a fantastic lap from the McLaren there. Reimer's gone 1:10.743, puts himself third. Remember, he went home second in Q1. So some good consistency on the part of the Ferrari at the moment. Jag Cheb making his way into Raskas and Anthony Nogues coming up here. Looks as if Peak Hour behind him, as well as his teammate of mid. Across the line is Jag Cheb. Only P11, 113.761, is behind that of Cavolis by about a tenth. And Peak Hour's gone 10th, 113.437. His teammate of mid's going to be coming up here shortly. Zench to the line now, and it's going to be P5 for Zench, 111.164. Not bad. Mid coming up now. What does he have? And it's going to be P6, 111.575. Behind that of Zench by about 4 tenths there. Not bad. Reimer choosing to use another set of mediums on that attempt, as you can see now. He's going to be making his way into the pit lane, but Reimer being at being about a second off on mediums, that's a good place to be. So remember, the cutoff is that 10th spot. 11th on back will be eliminated as we go into Q3. 6.5 minutes remaining here. Both Williams, an Alfa Romeo and an Alpine, currently make up that bottom four, although it does appear they've got some work to do. Giusterini will have to find an additional 0.5 of a second to get past Bergen's 1:12.646. And that would be not necessarily comfortable either. I think he would have a lot of work to do. Marcus back out on track now. This does appear to be what I think might be a timed lap from him. Yes, it is. Exiting Portier now is the McLaren. Going through the tunnel, heading towards the Neuville chicane. Let's see. Oh, and he's just taken a little too much. I thought initially there he had gotten through it all right. But in the turning phase of the corner, the tire clipping the barrier on the inside. And this attempt coming to a close here from Marcus, which looked a good one before that. Bergen on a timed lap now as he makes his way through the swimming pool section coming up here. Looks pretty good. 0.5 of a second quicker through Sector 2. That'll be good enough to, I think, get him up to P8 if he's able to put together a final good sector. And to the line he goes. It will be 9th. 1:11.935. Improves by 0.7 of a second there. Is short of DWCJ's 8th by less than 1/10 of a second. So, a lot of competition here, especially getting to the cut line. Fear Luke on an outlap now. Again, one of those drivers Fear Luke is that kind of flies under the radar, and only when he needs to does he come out and show the majority of his talent. As a wise man once told me, you don't always have to be Batman. You can be Bruce Wayne until you need to be Batman, and I think that's kind of the philosophy that Fear Luke puts together. Who was that that's just crossed the line? I believe it was that of Jag Cheb, who's gone 6th, 1:11.463, improves by a lot there, and is now, I don't want to say comfortably into the top 10, as there's only 0.5 of a second between P6 and P10. That's a good place to be there for Cheb. There's only so much improvement you can make on this track. Fear Luke up towards Saint-Devote now up the hill through Beau-Rivage and heading towards Massenet. Currently resides 4th, about 0.2 of a second off of Reimer and 1.5 seconds off of Short Marcus's current P1 time. Heading down into Mirabeau now, faster through Sector 1 by 0.2 of a second. That'll leapfrog Reimer if he's able to hold it together. Making his way through Portier now. Looking a good lap this so far from Fear Luke. Through the Neuville chicane. 3.5 minutes to go, quite wide through Tabac there. 0.5 second quicker. Goes through Louis Chiron and into the swimming pool now. Fear Luke looking like he's on a good one here. 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. The Alfa Romeo ahead of him into the pit lane. But Fear Luke making his way across the line now. And it's P2, 1:10.633. Only improves by about 3 3/4 there. And will end up second for the time being, 2/100ths quicker than Jag Greg. And oh, by the way, the blink of an eye is less than, I think, about, 0.3 of a second. So that is millimetrically close, that, when you really think about it. Short Marcus on a timed lap now. I just want to, hang on, I need to do a Google search. Each blink lasts between 1/10 of a second and 0.4 of a second. Wow, so I tell you what, less than 1/10 of a second that, less than a blink of an eye. Short Marcus on an outlap now. We do have, as well, the AlphaTauri behind. He's on an in-lap here. We've only got a couple of drivers out on track, 5 of which to be exact. But I'm sure we're going to see this last push here. 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. Maple Ace. I'm not sure if he's on a timed lap or not. It appears that he is, so we'll stay around with the Aston Martin at the moment, who is currently the driver at risk, sitting 10th. Into the Neuville chicane he goes. Looks pretty good. Somehow he's gone over the curb there and has kept that lap legal. He's taken a lot of curb, completely strafes it. 3.5 tenths so far for Maple Ace through Sector 2. Looking a good attempt here. He needs to be about 7th, I think, to really be comfortable here. 90 seconds remaining. Out of Anthony Nogues now, down the pit straight. And across the line, it's going to be 6th. 111.173, improves by 5.5 tenths. A clear 10th ahead of Justerini, about 10 1,000ths behind Zench. So again, a lot of competition being had here. Bergen on a timed lap, making his way through Sandevot now. Just over a minute remaining here. If you're a driver like Short Marcus, you don't necessarily need to panic. Cavolis, though, Weg, and Peak Hour all need a good attempt here. And Peak Hour, I mean, P14 for the time being, he needs a lot of improvement. Short Marcus having to end his timed lap there. I'm not rightly sure why. Well, it appears he's on an in-lap anyways. But what we do have, we will go along with Bergen here as he makes his way through Portier as Fear Luke retires, that being in the pit lane, thankfully enough. Through the tunnel now, the Alfa Romeo coming up next. That's that of Peak Hour, his teammate of Mid, currently on that bubble spot. The driver at risk is that of Mid. He does have about 4 or 5 tenths of a second there between himself and Bergen, but Bergen 3 tenths quicker through Sector 2. 20 seconds remaining here, and I tell you what, this might start to be panic mode here for Mid. He's not out on track. He can't improve. Who can, and who appears to be doing just that, is that of Bergen. And to the line goes the Ferrari now. Oh, he improves, but doesn't leapfrog the Alfa Romeo there. He's within 3/100ths of a second behind Mid. So, Zench, Maple Ace, Justerini, DWCJ, Cheb, and Mid, all in the pit lane, all saying they've had enough. Bergen has invalidated his final attempt. He's out of qualifying. Cavolis making his way through the tunnel now, a tenth of a second slower through Sector 1, out of the Neuville chicane, and into Tabac. Oh, let's see. Got the Mercedes of Weg making his way now. Cavolis a tenth slower through Sector 2. He's in trouble. Weg coming up to the line here. He's going to need something here. To the line, stays 13th. He's out. Cavolis making his way now. The Alfa Romeo Peak Hour to the line, stays 14th. Cavolis, can he make his way into the top 10? No, stays 12th. So Bergen, Cavolis, Weg, and Peak Hour, the 4 eliminated from qualifying here. Jag Greg second, Fear Luke third, Reimer fourth, and for the time being, Short Marcus still looks to be in control of the grid here. Well, he went and put the kettle on at the end of Q1, and he went and got into the mid-109s. Wild stuff. And yet Bergen, just for confirmation, again has invalidated that final attempt, so no improvements to be made there. I tell you what, the gap between the two there, less. Just about 3/100ths of a second short was Bergen from Q2. That is, from Q3. That is, well, if I was him, that's slightly heartbreaking. That has to be said. So, Q2 results there. Short Marcus taking the top spot again, this time by 6, almost 7 tenths of a second over Gred. Luke, Reimer, and Zench the top 5. Maple Ace, Justerini, DWCJ, and Cheb, and Mid, the final 5 to make it through to Q3. We've lost Bergen, Cavolis, Weg, and Peak Hour, the bottom 4, which have been eliminated here. Again, Bergen being short by 3/100ths of a second. Very unfortunate for him. I would pay attention to Reimer, though. He's, within a second and 2 tenths of the top spot here, and he's done both of his competitive laps that he's put through that have got him through to Q2 and now Q3 on the medium tires. I would look out for this Ferrari driver, but for the time being, Short Marcus put the kettle on and put the field in its place at the moment, well ahead of the rest of the grid. So Q3 coming up here. Final 10 drivers only get about, 10 minutes of action? Yep, 12 minutes. 12 minutes on the clock here, final 10. And if you're unaware of how Formula One works, the ins and outs of it, really, you will. I mean, if you are a seasoned veteran of watching the sport and at least having knowledge of it, you'll know that this is the most important qualifying session of the year, in real life at least. And I'm assuming it's going to be the same way here in the virtual world again. You want to be either on that front row or the back row. They're overtaking so difficult here. Hopefully in 2026, as they say they will, the cars will be slightly smaller, so we can get back to some proper overtaking around here. But for the time being, if you're a driver like DWCJ, Zench, I don't know, you may want to really send it on this one. Get a time on the board, but send the next one, because drivers like Reimer and Short Marcus have been absolutely dominant so far. And, you really got to hope that you've got enough here. We've got both Alpines still in the session. We've got Reimer, the sole Ferrari. We've got both Haas drivers, as well as one McLaren, one Aston Martin, one Alfa Romeo, one AlphaTauri, and one Williams. So, a couple of teams here doing well, a couple of others not so much. That Haas team, who has pretty much led the Constructors' Championship from start to finish, again, looking like they're going to have a good result, but again, still the race yet to come here. 39 laps of the Principality, and that should be a fun one. 10.5 minutes to go. Looks as if mid in the Alfa Romeo, that was my ringtone, if you're wondering. Yes, I have downloaded the F1 radio communication noise and put it as my ringtone. Jack Cheb going to be the first driver making his way on a timed lap here. Exits Anthony Noakes. Down the pit straight he goes. Let's have the telemetry open for Gitz and Shiggles. Into Sandoval he goes. Oh, and he's immediately invalidated it. That's unfortunate there, taking too much of the curb of the inside. It wasn't Mahavir Raghunathan amounts of curb going through Sandoval, which if you've never seen that clip, I very much ask you to search that up because it's hilarious. But that lap will be over there for Jag Cheb. Zench on a time lap now through Casino. I don't want to say Zench has been on the outside looking in so far today, but unusually deep in the grid for Zench. Usually we'll see him towards the top, but maybe he's been sandbagging a little bit and just kind of, doing his best to get through the session and not reveal all that he has. It's a fair tactic to try to use, and let's see if he can try to get towards the front row. McLaren of Short Marcus, the driver who has pretty much led qualifying both Q1 and Q2 from start to finish, out on track here. First driver to complete a timed attempt will be that of DWCJ, who has smacked the wall coming out of the swimming pool section. Somehow doesn't have damage, and he's going to look to finish off this lap, but tell you what, and he's hit it again there, going through Anthony Noakes. That car looks to be struggling at the moment, and across the line, well, it's a 1:11.825. That is not going to be enough for pole, I'll tell you that much, especially when we got a couple of drivers into the 110s as well as Short Marcus into the 109s. Justaridi 112, Zench 110.947. Even that, I don't think is going to be enough for the front row here. Still 8.5 minutes to go. That's obviously a terrible thing to try to guess now. Jag Greg 110.381. That's more like it. That's a good top 5 time there already from Jag Greg. Next in line was the Aston Martin of Maple Ace, 110.794. That's pretty good too. The Ferrari of Reimer to the line now, 109.802. Only the second driver of the day to get into the 109s. But we do have Marcus making his way. Oh, and he's clobbered the inside wall going through Rasgas. He keeps the car going, but that is certainly going to hurt his time. 8 minutes to go and across the line for Short Marcus. And it will be second place, 110.048. Behind Reimer by about 2/10 there. And that is, well, it has to be said, a very unusual error from Short Marcus so far today. I think he had the one coming out of the Neuville chicane with the back tire clipping the barrier, and he had that one there going through Rascats. Jag Cheb out of the final corner, down the pit straight he goes, yet to put together a time. Let's see what he can do. Only 8th, 111.910. Just the Alfa Romeo of mid, yet to put together a time here. Everybody else, I mean, what are our gaps looking like at the moment? Top 4 within a second. The bottom, the other 5 outside of that second, as it looks as if Fear Luke has just gone 4th. 1:10.672. Not a bad lap from him, actually. Improves by 7/10 of a second and into the top 4, the second row of the grid. That's a good spot as well because, say we have some catastrophe off the line regarding the first row, that's a very good place to be there, is Fear Luke. But I tell you what, he will need more than that, I would assume. The Haas drivers there will improve. Short Marcus has invalidated that previous attempt. He's going to be in here shortly. 6 minutes, 40 seconds to go. No, it looks as if he's going to stay out on track. Perhaps it was just a this lap rather than a this and next. Marcus to the line, starts his time now, 2.5 of a second. He's behind the Ferrari of Reimer. Oh, and a big slide going through Saint-Avant there. And I think he may have hit the wall there on the outside. It certainly looked as if he did. And I think this will be another lap that won't come to fruition here for the McLaren of Short Marcus, but the recharge light isn't on, and I think he's hit it again there coming out of Casino. Yeah, he's slower by 1.5 seconds so far. Yeah, that's going to be a lap. Unfortunately, Short Marcus will have to throw out the window here. He'll have to go back into the pits, maybe fix the wing if that's needed, as he is one of 2 drivers out on track. Mid finally going to be putting a time together here. He's done. I think Mid's actually done this quite well. He's waited until the very last minute and has made sure he's given himself enough clear track. Well, that, I tell you what, a fair strategy that. Through Saint-Avant, a little bit slow, may have hit the wall on exit up the hill, through Massenet into, through Beau Rivage into Massenet now. The Alfa Romeo, who initially looked as if he was going to be slightly behind his teammate, but, well, he's into Q3, and his teammate is not. The bottom line with that. In towards the hairpin now, doing quite well. Have to say, it's very interesting trying to watch these cars, keep themselves under control despite being, so downforce heavy, so oversteer heavy cars. 5 minutes remaining here through the Neuville chicane now. I could have swore he almost hit the wall there going into the corners. It turns out he's not. Through Tabac, well, he's definitely hit the wall that time. He's clobbered it then going through Tabac. For the swimming pool section, apparently that car is still good enough to keep the lap going, as he's trying to do now. Although I wouldn't be surprised if he's got damage. Well, he's got no visible damage on the right front side. Into the pit lane is the Alfa Romeo, and that's going to be the end of his timed attempt, which he has not put together. Reimer, current provisional pole sitter, making his way through the swimming pool section now, just making sure he's got clear track ahead of him, as makes his way into Rascasse and eventually Anthony Nogues. 4.5 minutes remain here for the Ferrari driver, who looking to bounce back, 30 points behind his championship rival heading into today. It's a tough place to be for the reigning champion, but we'll have to wait and see. Remember, it's a 185 to 155, the point tally coming into tonight. Reimer needs a lot. And, well, Zench being closer to the midfield than he typically is could very well help the Ferrari's proceedings here. Slower by 5/100 through Sector 1. Not worth panicking over yet, but if he's not quicker through Sector 2, I would look to kind of abandon the lap and then get maybe back into the pits and then get back out on track for one more. I don't know. I don't think he's got enough time yet to really abandon this lap or, well, to keep going if he's not quicker through Sector 2. All but 2 drivers out on track currently, those 2 being Greg and Mid. Greg currently 3rd, Mid being 10th without a time to his name. Reimer now quicker by 1/10 going through Sector 2. Not bad, so I would see this lap to its conclusion here. May have hit the wall coming out of the swimming pool. Into Rascasse now, looks pretty good. Now going through Anthony Nogues, and he's done well to keep it off the barriers on the outside. Coming to the line is that of Reimer, and it's a 109.669, improves by just less than 1/10.5, moves Short Marcus back to nearly 0.4 of a second off the top spot. Short Marcus now will be starting another timed lap, but Marcus now 2 consecutive timed attempts with a crippling mistake that has hindered his progress. Let's see now, up through Saint-Avant. May have again nearly brushed the wall there coming out of Saint-Avant. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I think he's only just kind of hit it there. Through Massenet into Casino. 0.3 of a second quicker. Now that was audibly a hit there going into Massenet. Into Mirabeau. He's used all of the track he can, but 0.3 quicker through the first sector. Go Reimer carrying us tonight. Well, I tell you what, Bergen, you got close. 3/100 of a second you missed out by. That is nothing to be ashamed of, because I tell you what, there's a very fast 10 here. in toward the Newville chicane now. 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining, and Short Marcus for the time being has an okay enough lap to really challenge Reimer for the top spot. Fear Luke has gone third. He's hit the wall again coming out of the back there. 3.5 tenths quicker through Sector 2. Short Marcus looks like he's on a good one, but let's see. Can he hold it together? This is where he made the mistake last time going through Rascasse, and he's held it together. Exits Anthony Nogues, looking a great lap here from Marcus. I'd be surprised if it wasn't pole, and it is. 109.161. Puts Reimer 5 tenths of a second behind. That is a ridiculous lap from Marcus. Incredible. Fear Luke, I believe, is going to be on an in-lap here shortly. Either that or he's going to try for one more. Jag Greg is on an out-lap with 90 seconds remaining to go here in the session. Up through turn 1, looking pretty good. Through Saint-Devote, up through Beau Rivage and into Massenet. Tell you what really holds the inside line, and Zench is retired, that being in the pit lane. We've got the Ferrari of Reimer, who I believe, well, something's going on with Reimer there, I'm not too sure. Interesting. Across the line was that of DWCJ, has gone 6th, his teammate of Zench, saying he's had enough. DWCJ just now improved by 8 tenths of a second. Great lap from him. Maple Ace to the line, who was slower through Sector 2, is slower by a tenth and a half there, only just. Coming through the line now is mid, yet to put together a timed lap. He's got 40 seconds to get to the line here. He should have enough. Short Marcus, who's invalidated, will surely be on an in-lap here shortly, unless does he have enough for a second. It does appear he will try for a second here. So the line goes mid, starting his now. Reimer, where is Reimer gone? Well, he's in the pit lane. I don't know. We've only just gotten rid of the yellow flags through that. They're slightly odd. Short Marcus starting one now. Up through Saint-Devote. Again, almost brushes the wall there. Across the line then was the Alpine of Jag Greg, who I believe is starting one. No, he's finished one. Half a second quicker, currently third. Jag Cheb to the line now. Kind of has flown under the radar, improves by only less than a tenth of a second. Not going to be enough. Justerini to the line now, improves by 7.5 tenths, stays at 9th. That is a shame to have improved that much and does not get any higher up on the leaderboards. Maple Ace coming through the line now. Reimer's done all he can do. Maple Ace has invalidated his attempt. He's done. Fear Luke coming through. Rascasse and Anthony Nogues now shortly. And into the pit lane is Fear Luke, unfortunate for him. So, mid, the only remaining driver to put together a timed attempt, and, well, he's got the ability here to do the impossible and become legendary in the JAG Sunday Series. Well, he's that oversteer coming out of Rascasse. I don't believe this is going to be anything worthy of the top 5 here. To the line he goes, and yet will stay 10th, 111.417. So, unless Jag Greg has something special here making his way through the swimming pool at a rather crawling pace, that... Unless, is he on a time lap? No, he's not on a time lap, not by any chance. Nope, so that is going to be the end of the session there. It will be that of Short Marcus, who, well, he's done a celebratory spin across the line there. Pole position for the McLaren. And oh, by the way, 39 laps yet to come here in Monaco. But Short Marcus can be proud of that one. Half a second better than Reimer. And Reimer, who really thought was going to improve a little bit more, for going from the mediums to hards. Well, I tell you, or the mediums to the softs. I tell you what, he did improve, but Marcus has improved that much more. Ridiculous. Well, pole position for the McLaren. Let's see if he can hold on. And we're just waiting for Jag Cheb's car to be wheeled into the pit lane here. It should shortly. Oh, there we go. So, your starting grid then for the Monaco Grand Prix, or at least the top 10. Marcus on pole, Reimer behind by 0.5 tenths of a second. Greg is third, Fear Luke 4th, Maple Ace 5th, DWCJ 6th, Zench 7th. Not a bad result for the Haas team. They will need more. Cheb 8th, Justerini 9th, and Mid rounding out the top 10 there. So, Short Marcus, obviously, looks like he's got control of the grid for now, but this is Monaco. Anything can happen. We'll have to wait and see. If he's able to put together a good one here. Well, I tell you what, now would be a good time to get together your race predictions. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I mean, do whatever you want. Have a pint on me. I don't care. Well, not on me, for me. I don't have money for that. I'm a student. I ain't got money for that. So here we are then in Monaco. Looks like we've got ourselves at least another clear day coming up, at least for now. I don't believe there's any adverse weather on the way. Zench saying he's hit the wall in the last run. That's unfortunate for him. I believe formation lap will still be on. Although the last time I was in a league with 100% Grand Prix, formation lap was turned off. So, I don't know. Looks as if here formation lap will be underway. Interesting. Has Marcus gone to the hard tires? No, he's gone to the mediums there. 21 to 30 from hard to medium, although I don't fail to see why that's relevant. So those medium tires will last, approximately 20 laps there, 15 at least. So short Marcus the mediums, Reimer the hards, which is an interesting call there. Jag Greg on the mediums as well. Very diverse group of tire strategies here. Only one driver choosing the softs. That'll be that of Jag Cheb, currently residing in the 8th spot in the heart of it there. Looks as if, well, I tell you what, Jag Greg here has the opportunity. There you go again. 21 to 30 for hard to medium. So that'll be Reimer strategy. I don't really know why it gives us starting on the hards as the default option, but it is. So short Marcus. We'll have Reimer to the inside. And, Reimer being on the hards now, again, Reimer not known for his quick getaways, but, being on the hards is going to be that much more difficult. Jag Greg could have the opportunity to make that move and get onto the second spot if they can make their way through Saint-Devat cleanly. Remember the old adage, no heroics into Saint-Devat. They may need to consider that one here because heroics definitely needs to be made in Reimer's case, a driver who 30 points behind in the championship standings entering today, needs a lot, the defending champion, or else Zench is kind of going to walk away with this one. Only a couple of rounds left. After this one, we head next week on the 31st, Easter Sunday, which I'm not going to be here for because I'm traveling, to Le Castellet, to Circuit Paul Ricard in France for round 9, Silverstone back for round 10 on April 7th, and then rounding out the JAG S Championship season, round 11 at the Las Vegas circuit, which, again, say what you will about Las Vegas, does put together some entertaining Grand Prix racing, at least in the virtual world, only seen one in real life, but even that was really good. Just waiting for Goon to come back through here. He'll be the final driver to line up on the grid, and we can get underway here in the streets of the Principality. And Goon couldn't make it back to the line in time, but now as the thing can't make up its mind here. Should be having lights turn on. There we go. 4 and eventually 5, and they are off here in the streets of Monaco. Marcus has gotten a good start there to the inside. He will lead Reimer up the hill. Fear Luke tried to make something happen behind. Oh, now Maple Ace has done a Mahavir Ragunathon through the first corner. That one, he's taken a lot of the inside curb there up through Beau Rivage and Massenet. Now a little bit of jostling going on behind as there goes Maple Ace trying to find the outside. He's got Zench to his left. It's going to be a tricky one to fight side by side through there. Jag Greg stays ahead of Fear Luke. Nearly found an overtake there. Down the hill they go. Oh, contact there with Justarini to the inside of Zench. Into the hairpin they go now. A little bit of a backup happening. Oh, that's a big accident there as the Ferrari of Bergen collides with both Mid. I think Manny K got into it there as well. Mid spinning round back there. A lot of calamity off the start, but someone who hasn't had calamity is that of Short Marcus, who will take and keep the top spot here off the opening start. And And I think now the grid is relatively calmed down. No moves are going to be happening into the Neuville chicane. That'd be silly if they did. Clear skies for the moment here in Monaco. I don't know if it's going to stay that way. But through the swimming pool they go now, in towards Raskas and Anthony Nogues as they go now. Short Marcus will lead them out of the final corner and down across the start-finish line here, and will complete the first lap of the Grand Prix. And it looks as if Rise immediately into the pit lane there. Let's take a look at positions gained and lost. Tell you what, Manny K up 4 spots, although I don't know if those were overtakes or just people fidgeting around the McLaren. It could be either way. No front wing change for Rise. I could have swore he was in there for the front wing change. That's not the case. Reimer behind Marcus by a 1.5 seconds now. Greg behind 7.5 tenths as they make their way into the hairpin now for the second time. The Haas of DWCJ up to the 5th spot. Zench has lost 2 off the opening proceedings here from 7th to 9th. The Williams of Justerini and Maple Ace, I believe, getting jostled out in there as well. The top 4, however, staying put. This will be a good result here for Reimer if Zench is to stay somewhere around the 10th spot. And Reimer is able to stay towards the top, and even getting on the podium would be a huge win for the Ferrari here with just a couple of rounds to go. In through, Raskas and Anthony Nogues here coming up. Bit of oversteer there for Fear Luke is a 1.5 seconds behind the top 3 as Jag Greg reeling in Reimer here. Now again, it's really going to depend on the mistakes being made from the driver ahead and less of, if you're able to get around them in an overtake. 0.3 seconds is all right and good, but I'm afraid there's really just nowhere to outright make a move. You're just going to have to wait your turn here, and you're going to have to wait for the driver to make a mistake, and that was Jag Greg nearly losing the car coming off a casino. I mean, that car, it wasn't full tilt, but that was close. Up through, Beau Rivage and Massenet. Now, Goon nearly wanted to make a move. Oh, and I think maybe as he gotten into the back of Weg there. Oh, it was close. Well, I don't know if he actually has gotten into Weg, but what I do know is both Mercedes driver having a spin there, going through the first sector. Unfortunate opening lap for the pair as they get relegated down to 16th and 17th. Jag Cheb, a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. And that was, I assume, going over the Neuville chicane. He's gone too deep into the corner. So the first driver to pick up a time penalty today. Track has stayed green for the most part. No safety car, no virtual safety car on hand yet. And which is interesting because remember, for the longest time, the safety car was relatively broken with Monaco. We have a yellow flag now, and it's the Alfa Romeo of peak hour off at the swimming pool, and he's lost a chunk of the front wing on the left front side. That, I believe, where Mick Schumacher having his crash in 2022. Gee, there's a lot of tracks I say that about Mick Schumacher and having crashes. Anyways. Jag Greg, 0.5 seconds here, trying to find something around Reimer. Reimer doing well. The problem here is this. Reimer has lost 0.3 seconds. Oh, we got an overtake happening there. Maple Ace has gone around the outside of Cheb. Cheb trying to stick it down the inside through the hairpin. And Maple Ace, I believe, he's either held that spot well or he's made that overtake happen. Either way, some brilliant battling happening there. I mean, I've seen cars go 3 wide through that corner before. That was back in F1 2020, one of my first attempts into broadcasting, only the 2nd or 3rd race I'd ever casted, and well, that was something to behold at the time. 0.5 seconds here between these two still. Now, DRS is going to be in play, but it doesn't matter much at this circuit. It has to be said, DRS is just simply a formality here. As you can see, the rear wing open there, DRS activated, but it's just not going to matter much, I'm afraid. Oh, the Ferrari of Bergen's gone round. This is going into Raskas. And, well, he's hit something there. Rice has put together a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. I believe that was going over the Neuville chicane. Second driver of the day on penalty. Penalties are going to mean a lot here eventually, that's for sure. But one of the things that this track does get right is this becomes one of the best tracks for tire strategy all season long, has to be said. Sometimes the strategies we get here are so unique, and even such, the risk that you take does very much weigh with the reward. So, yeah, a lot of strategy is going to be in play, but Jag Greg now, 0.4 seconds. Still reeling in Reimer, but not going to be close enough. And there goes Reimer, 3 seconds of penalty for multiple warnings. That was going over too much of the Neuville chicane on the inside. And the third driver of the day is, it looks as if Algieri goes around This time exiting Casino. That's where he ran around before, and this time has lost the entirety of the front wing. Yellow flag's out, but it looks as if the track as itself will stay green. See if Peak Hour finds any of the debris here coming out of the corner. It doesn't look as if he will. Nope, track is clear. Greg within 3.5 tenths now, up the hill through Beau Rivage, heading towards Massenet. A little bit further behind, Manny K's within a couple of tenths of Cavolas, who's in a couple of tenths of Zench for that 9th spot. Matter of fact, Justarini's looking like he could probably overtake Cheb here shortly. Exits Casino, into Mirabeau they go. Manny K, well, seconds after I was talking about the McLaren, picks up 3 seconds for multiple warnings, as it looks as if the Ferrari of Bergen off at Saint-Devat. He's gone deep into the corner, the front wing gone, and he's now got to go the entire lap. Trying to go. Oh, has Zench gotten around Justarini? Yes, he has. That was going through Mirabeau. Either they were side by side or that Haas has made something up there. Well, this is interesting here. The Cavolas has apparently left the session or something, because these two cars are phasing in and out of each other here. Algeri's gone and retired in the pit lane. Unfortunate for him. I believe still has yet to get a point on the board this season. Very late in the season as well. Bergen having to go this full lap as Zench getting around Cheb, and I've missed it, of course. Cavolas 3 seconds, a penalty for multiple warnings. I'm not sure. Must have been a mistake there from Cheb, as Zench getting that spot through what appeared to be the Neuville chicane. Just simply nothing's going to happen there, assuming it was mistake-driven. But Zench up to 7th. Good effort from him so far. Jag Greg within 2.5 tenths here of Reimer through Massenet. Through Casino they go. Reimer leads. Greg too far back to really send it into the corner. Now Mid getting around Cavolas. That was going in through Saint-Devat. He's done that with DRS, and now Will Bergen making his way to the pit lane. But Mid has pulled off a genuine overtake there, I think. Nicely done for the Alfa Romeo driver. Shame I've missed it. As, well, unfortunately, when overtakes are made here in Monaco, only sometimes are they real moves. You know, most of the time you'll see a position change, you just don't think anything of it because you assume, hey, someone's either gone off track or they've hit a wall and they've, you know, made a mistake. So rarely do you actually see the overtake. Sometimes they do happen, as they've done there, but 90% of the time I'm really just not going to look at it because it's probably just a mistake. But it draws my attention, that's for sure, so if I see it happen, we'll definitely have a look. Jag Greg, 0.6 of a second behind Reimer for the time being. As down the straight they go, heading into Saint-Devat now, 0.4 of a second. Again, Greg gaining a lot of time with DRS, but throughout the rest of the track, Reimer does seem to kind of get away better than the Alpine here. Up through Massenet. Jag Greg doing well, but not quite close enough even to really have a send. Again, you need to be right up against the rear wing of somebody within 1/10 of a driver if you really want to have a look at sending it down the inside. Through Mirabeau is probably the best overtaking spot on this track, unless does a driver go wide into the hairpin, which does sometimes happen, as Justarini and Cheb. Well, Cheb's made an accident that time. That was coming out of Casino. End plate gone on the left front side of the car, as you can see. So that time was pure mistake, as Justarini and Manny K, I believe, as well, getting around Cheb. As Weg's gone off there, going through Saint-Devat. End plate, I think, missing on the left front side. Yes, it is. Mid getting around Jag Cheb. Well, Cheb yet rather slow this time going into Portier, so both of those cars getting around him, I think just purely on Cheb getting out of the way. Into the Neuville chicane they go now. Oh, by the way, 30 laps to go this next time by. Fairluke, 3 seconds of penalty for multiple warnings. Becomes, what is he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sixth driver of the day to pick up a time penalty already here in the early stages of the Grand Prix. And oh, by the way, these 3-second penalties you can't get rid of in-game. The 5 seconds you can, as Weg picking up a 3-second penalty here, the 7th driver of the day. The 5-second penalties you can. If you were to pick up a 5-second penalty for a collision or, you know, overtaking off track or something like that, you can eliminate that penalty when you make your pit stop. The game, obviously, the car will be held in the pit lane. The 3-second penalties, however, not. So a little bit odd as well, being that these penalties are 3-second penalties for track limits, when in real life they're 5 seconds. So, not really sure, but that's the case. In their way now, Maple Ace 6.5 tenths of DWCJ here. This is for the 5th spot. DWCJ having a pretty halfway decent race so far. His teammate of Zench has made up a couple as well. And by made up a couple, I mean gotten back to the 7th spot in which he started. These two actually having swap positions somewhere along the line. Currently the closest battle on track as they make their way out of Anthony Nogues now. Down the pit straight they go. Jag Greg, for the time being, was outside of a second on Reimer, but we do have the the Ferrari of Bergen within a couple of tenths of Weg here. This may get interesting. Bergen trying to look for room here around Weg. It's not quite going to happen yet as Rise is retired. That heading into and through the Neuville chicane. He's clipped too much of the wall on the inside there, as you can see. Oh, that might have to be looked at there. Bergen has overtaken Weg there in through the yellow flag section of the track. Now, I hate to say it, but Weg was slowing down, as you should do, seeing the yellow flags for the retired Aston Martin ahead. On their way into the Neuville chicane, Bergen had gone down the down the inside of the Aston Martin. I tell you what, Weg could, of the Mercedes inside, Weg could have a very fair look at that call being penalized there for the Ferrari, having overtaken through the yellow flag section of the track. 6 tenths of a second here. I'm just trying to look at the replay now. If you didn't know, with having this good internet, I've got my laptop open side by side, and I'm able to watch the race kind of back at a bit of a delay as we go. See, at this point now, they're making their way out of Portier. Into the tunnel they go. At that point, Rise retires. Now, as they head into the chicane here, the Mercedes is ahead, slows down into the corner, and Bergen, well, I tell you what, Bergen has either missed that braking zone or is completely sent it on Weg. Either way, through the section of the track with the yellow flags displayed, that could very much warrant a penalty there. Well, either way, still a lot of racing left to go here in the Principality as we look at now the battle between Maple Ace and DWCJ here, half a second ahead. Jag Greg in that 3rd spot now, outside of almost a second on Reimer. Reimer has been slowly pulling away. Gee, it's almost interesting as if Reimer is pulling away once he's gotten the penalty. Maybe Reimer has found a quicker line, but who hasn't had to worry about quicker lines or slower lines is that of Short Marcus, out ahead of the 2nd spot by almost 6 seconds here. Matter of fact, he's about to meet the back marker of Bergen coming up here as they make their way through Massenet into Casino. As there's peak hour. Thankfully, ghosting is on. I've had leagues with, ghosting not being on, which, I think for the most part, ghosting should be turned off. But at a track like this, where back markers just do not have the room to get out of the way, it is very important to have ghosting on, as you can kind of just drive through the lapped car and not have to worry about them. Of course, still awkward to do as a driver because, well, there's a car there, just not there at the same time, which is interesting to think about. But, yeah, glad we have ghosting on for this one. Otherwise, I'd rather have it turned off. But as they make their way through the tunnel, Jag Greg, 8.5 tenths of a second here of Reimer, making their way into the Neuville chicane. For the time being, it does look as if Reimer has Greg beaten. I think what it is basically Reimer starting on those hard tires. Very much now, I think, in the window of the hard tires being better than the mediums. Although I say that, Reimer's still losing time to Short Marcus. Either Marcus is that far ahead, or it's the other way around. Bergen retiring from the session there. I hope that's in the pit lane. Well, it is in the pit lane, but it didn't initially look as if it was. Into the pit lane for Bergen. That'll be the end of his day. Going through Anthony Nogues now. Maple Ace, only 4 tenths of a second behind DWCJ here, but the Haas has gotten away much better out of the corner. Will be no contest from the Aston Martin that time. Into Mirabone now. Greg has actually clawed back a little bit of time to Reimer here. Last time by, it was teetering on the outside of a second. It's now within half a second here. So Greg doing really well. And I think it is just through the 2nd sector that Alpine is having some trouble. Through the 1st sector, he's got Reimer pretty much matched. But anywhere else, I think Sector 2 and towards in through Sector 3, the Alpine's having a little bit of trouble. But this time is closer to Reimer, shaving off the time as much as he can. Exiting the Neuville chicane now, 6 tenths of a second behind. As we may be seeing our first round of pit stops here for the mediums to probably the hard tires here shortly, it would be my guess. Not entirely sure, but if it was up to me, I'd be looking at the pit window here for the medium tires rather shortly. We have Manny Kay on 3 seconds of penalty behind Justerini by only 7/10 of a second as they make their way into Newville now. Justerini taking a lot of the curb on the inside that time, probably a track limits warning for him. Maple Ace and DWCJ, these two have been battling for quite a while here. Back on with them, and again, that Haas really, really well at getting acceleration out of these corners. Matter of fact, some of the best acceleration I've seen all day. The car does not look unsettled at all as he makes his way onto the throttle. So for the time being, I think that is pretty much the difference, because if he was getting away at the pace Maple Ace is out of these corners, I think it'd be much closer, but the acceleration so much better on the Haas at the moment. Getting closer to the halfway mark, round about that 20 lap mark is going to be where we hit halfway in the Grand Prix here. Still a lot of racing left to go. We've had one DNF on track. That was the Aston Martin of Rise. Bergen and Algieri doing it in the pit lane. Back to the battle here. Well, I tell you what, a close one here as they make their way through Newville. Did we have an overtake back there? Did Goon get around peak hour? Either peak hour's made a mistake or that was a good one from Goon that I didn't see, but 5/10 of a second. I tell you what, these two really similar in pace, as well as I would say of Reimer and Greg. Unless you got a really clear advantage in pace, you're just not going to really make that overtake happen. And again, there's the Haas getting away so much better than the Aston Martin. As a matter of fact, he's opened that gap to 5/10 of a second as getting into the straight. He's lost about another 2/10 of a second there. Up through Beau Rivage and Massenet now. Heading down into Mirabeau. Maple Ace behind by 5.5 of a second here. Jag Greg again, nearly outside of that second mark on Reimer. So the closest battle on track between these two for the 5th spot. Doing well, but again, we may get into tire strategy here rather shortly. Reimer, of course, will be staying out as he's on the hard tire. Doesn't need to worry about it for now. But these guys on the mediums might be coming in here within the next couple of laps, I think. Whatever short Marcus does, Jag Greg is probably going to look to copy that similar strategy. As we have a yellow flag atop the hill. It's the Alpine there, I think, of Jag Cheb has gone round going through Casino as well. He's gonna fix whatever the problem was by the time short Marcus kind of gets through. It was Jag Cheb. How much wing is he missing? Oh, the entirety of it. So front wing gone there as Zench getting it. Well, Maple Ace into the pit lane. Well, I tell you what, the heart rate got intense there as it was just the Maple Ace entering the pit lane. Hard tires from Maple Ace. So the first true pit stop of the Grand Prix there, as far as strategy is concerned, is that of Maple Ace. As Cheb picking up 10 seconds for corner cutting. Oh, smacking the wall of Tabac there. And yet, still missing the entirety of the front wing, up to 13 seconds of penalty. This is going to be, well, I tell you what, for what he's been able to do, he's been able to get at least back around the circuit with no front wing. That's an impressive feat in its own, but, and picks up 5 seconds for speeding to the pit lane, 18 seconds, and now the retirement in the pits from Cheb. That will bring the grid down to 14 from the initial 18 that took off here in the Principality. Closest battle on track now is that of Jag Greg, 0.8 of a second behind Reimer. He's done well to really try to wear down the Ferrari here. As a matter of fact, Reimer made the mistake earlier on to pick up the 3-second time penalty, but I'm just afraid that mistakes and trying to wear down drivers aren't really going to do it because, well, it's Monaco. They already have that problem as it is. This track, as much as difficult as it is, very, very repetitive, as you can see. 39 laps, only on the 17th one now. That is a real problem when it comes to drivers, as having that repetition so many times, you do get wore out quite quickly. And I'm thinking if that's the case, as, DWCJ into the pits now. He's actually going to come out kind of behind Maple Ace here. So Maple Ace getting the better of him that time. Cavolis getting around mid as mid's in the pit lane. I would assume we're going to see short Marcus in here shortly. Heavy over the curb going through the swimming pool chicane. Going through Rascasse now. And nope, Marcus stays out. Jag Greg still behind Reimer, 0.5 of a second, one of the closest battles on track, but I'm afraid that Jag Greg is really behind on strategy now. Maple Ace, 0.4 of a second in closing to Manny K here. As they go through the tunnel, Maple Ace, well, he's looking for the inside here. He's got the McLaren. Well, Manny K, I think, got into the wall on exit of the tunnel there as Maple Ace went down the inside. But what an attempt that was for Maple Ace. I'm sure if Manny K has damage, the McLaren driver is going to complain about that one. But Maple Ace, either way, well, we've got that one on camera at least. I'll have that one to be happy about. DWCJ now, 0.5 second back to the McLaren in question. As we've got, what is that? Is that the Aston Martin that was ghosted up ahead not long ago? It very well could have been. Still have yet to see the McLaren of Short Marcus make it into the pit lane, making his way through the Neuville chicane now. I'd assume it's one of these couple of laps here coming up as DWCJ now within 1/10 of the McLaren here, going up through Beau Rivage and heading into Massenet. 0.3 of a second, I tell you what, this McLaren is on the ropes. Into Mirabeau they go. DWCJ is going to have to look here. Again, his true battle right now is with Maple Ace. Those two have been so similar on pace all day long, and for the time being, DWCJ has the McLaren in the way. The McLaren on 3 seconds of time penalty as well. If you were wondering how we now have less drivers on time penalty, we were up to 7, I think, at one point. It's now down to 5, as now DWCJ down the inside into the Neuville chicane. Are you serious? The McLaren's going to have to go wide. Well, somehow the McLaren's actually stayed on track there and has not cut the corner. DWCJ, hats off to you. What a move that was. Unbelievable stuff there. 0.8 of a second now. Jag Greg to Reimer, once again the closest battle on track. I have no idea how the Haas made that one happen. That was brilliant. But again, Justerini into the pit lane now. I think this is his second stop. And just a little bit of time. Is it perhaps a front wing change for the Williams here? No, just a normal stop for the Williams. And he's going to go on to the hard tires. So perhaps as he pit for the mediums twice, and he's now gone to the hard tires as, remember, you need to fulfill the requirement of having been on 2 different tire compounds in the race. And I think that was probably the result of that one. And we now see Jag Greg into the pit lane making his obligatory stop. So the hard tires goes the Alpine. I'd say what good day so far from Jag Greg. Little to no mistakes being made so far. Had he been on that front row, I think he probably could have had a fair look at Marcus into the first corner. But after that, Marcus has absolutely dominated so far today, and he continues to do so. So strategy game being played now is Zench getting around Fear Lucas. Fear Luke's in the pit lane, coming out here. So now, well, as Mids picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings, 5 drivers still have yet to stop. The McLaren of Manny K, Kavolis, Zench, Reimer, and Marcus, the remaining 5 who have yet to stop. Reimer, again, started the race in the hard tires, won't need to. Making their way in towards the Anthony Noakes corner now. Marcus has decided to stay out another lap here. I think he must just feel so confident on the mediums as Jag Greg 3 seconds of multiple warnings, so that'll put him and Reimer level pegging now as far as penalties are concerned. And you can see Jag Greg is trying to push his way back to the fight here, knowing that Reimer, for the time being, on the better strategy. 17, almost 18 seconds the gap between the two, with Reimer still not needing to make his stop yet. So halfway through this Grand Prix, we have seen some overtakes as Zench into the pit lane now. Finally, I believe it is just that of, we've got Manny K, Kavolis, Short Marcus, and Reimer, the final 4. As I believe, yep, WEG getting around peak hour as he makes his way to the pit lane. We do have a yellow flag. Manny K is off at Rascasse, and I believe the McLaren, yet the front wing is missing on the left front side. And, well, if the McLaren driver didn't want to make the pit stop to begin with, then, well, it's forcing to happen now. Front wing going on, and medium tires as well. That'll put Kavolis to 8th, who has yet to stop still. 20-lap-old hard tires. It looks as if starting on the hards may have been a valid strategy here. I will say this, though. Jag Greg has shaved off about 3 seconds back to the Ferrari of Reimer since he's come out of the pit lane just a couple of laps ago. So Jag Greg on good pace at the moment. He's got 3 seconds of penalty, so we won't need to worry about that in the grand scheme of things. Although I'm sure he would have liked to have kept having no penalties, so that it would have been a fair overtake between himself and Reimer. Is Reimer on the way in? And are those medium tires for Reimer? Yes, they are. So the Ferrari taking the mediums here. That'll leave Short Marcus, the only remaining driver on the grid yet to stop here. Matter of fact, he is now losing time. No, Short Marcus has pit. He's only pit just now. So Reimer, why we saw him come out of the pit lane there, he's pit because Short Marcus ahead is pit. Short Marcus to the hard tires now. Remember, he started on the mediums. And, well, he still has a 2-second advantage, although Jag Greg, his tires are warm, so he is trying to chase down the McLaren, but I'm assuming Short Marcus is not going to have much problem with that here very shortly, as we do have now mid within 0.4 of a second of Cavolis. Up through Saint-Avant into Beau Rivage. Heading towards Massenet, the Alfa Romeo definitely looking at it here. The two cars in this battle, both on 3 seconds of penalty. Mid really all over the back end here. By the way, Jag Greg has taken another, well, at the time he had took half a second off of the time. It was within 1.6, now back out to about 2. Well, Cavolis has gone deep into the hairpin there. I think may have hit the outside wall on the way through as they go through Portier now. Mid a little bit further behind, 0.4 of a second. Through the tunnel they go. As they exit the tunnel, Mid still not in position to try anything into the Neuville chicane, which we have seen a movement made so far, so it's not impossible. But now, Mid around the outside, and Cavolis as well. He's going to let him have that spot through Tabac. Cavolis drops to 10th. Huh. Interesting there. I wonder what the decision was behind that with Cavolis. Has the Williams stopped yet? Could that be the reason why? No, he hasn't. And Cavolis will stop now. So, Cavolis finally decided to enter the pit lane. He'll only lose 2 spots. Short Marcus is off, though. Short Marcus is out of the Grand Prix. What's happened here? In through the Neuville chicane, that car has come to the rest outside of the track. He's hit the inside barrier on the way out of the Neuville chicane, and now this race has been blown wide open here as the driver who dominated the qualifying sessions and has dominated the early proceedings of the race has hit the inside barrier, exiting the corner as Maple Ace has just passed there and DWCJ doing now. The McLaren is out of the Grand Prix. What a surprise that is, and that has handed the lead of this race to Jag Greg, who, well, I don't even know. That's ridiculous. Marcus, you're here in chat now. Oops, I think would be correct. Just a bit too much of the inside, I suppose. The two Haas drivers will invert position there. I tell you what, it's not an uncommon mistake to be made. I definitely feel for you there, but goodness me, that's got to be heartbreaking, that one. Bit of a difficult time getting the hard tires up to temperature would be my guess, as Greg was actually closing in on you there for a little bit. So yeah, maybe just laziness out of the chicane, open the wheel up, and slightest hit against the wall. I tell you what, that's an unfortunate one there. But well, I tell you what, have your head held high, because Monaco is definitely one of those tracks that proves a driver's worth. You may have DNF today, but if you stick around next week as you head to Le Castellet, you may just have yourself a good attempt there. Very looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future races, because today, so far, up until that, you did dominate. So, unfortunate, but you've definitely put the grid on notice here, has to be said. Reimer, the fastest lap now, 1:11 something or another. As closest battle on track is that of Reimer trying to close in on Fear Luke. Reimer on the mediums here should be starting to close in to both the AlphaTauri and the Alpine ahead. Although what I will say is this, Jag Greg doing well, has yet to, despite being on the slower compounded tires, doing well and not really losing out to the AlphaTauri here. 2 seconds here between Reimer and Fear Luke. More importantly now, Zench within a second and a half of Maple Ace. We could have a whiff of a battle going on here shortly. Making their way into Portier now. It looks as if the Haas still a little bit farther behind. Maple Ace having a good day so far, and he's got a couple of drivers on 3-second penalties ahead of him. Although, oh, that's a yellow flag. That's the Mercedes of WEG who's gone deep into the corner. Crossplay is horrible. This screen freezing is crazy, losing so much time. Still, I love Monaco, so it had to be done. Well, that, you know, I tell you what, that was a big problem when the game had initially come out, and what we were seeing a lot of screen freezing and whatnot happening there. I didn't realize it was still a problem with the crossplay users, so, I mean, then again, I haven't really participated in any racing, so I'll take your word for it, because I do know that was initially a problem, and maybe that bug's still there. What I do know is this, that was a huge problem when it was prevalent then, being that, you know, any time, it is for some, not everyone, PS4 is worse. Oh yeah, I bet PS4 is worse. Yeah, when the game first started, yeah, you know, now that you mention it, yeah, I got this PS4, or the PS5 that I'm on now, I got it back in, I want to say I got it back in either January or February. And now that you mention it, yeah, it was much worse on the PS4 at the time. That was definitely noticeable. Yeah, I'm getting it every lap. I'm amazed it didn't bin it way earlier. I tell you what. Well, again, as we were talking about earlier here, it's one of the things that Zench picks up another 3-second penalty there. Or maybe was that his first? I can't tell. Yeah, it was his first. Anyways, as we were mentioning earlier, when you have such an internationally diverse grid it does get difficult to be able to control you know, who has ability to race based on connection and who doesn't. I can tell you one thing from my perspective, having been in a Midwest United States-based league for the longest time, it was really only the Australians who couldn't compete. As Zench around the outside now through Maple Ace, trying to get through Sandoval. They're side by side, contact being made there, but for the most part, that was about as clean as it's going to be. Well, yep, Zench has gotten to the 4th spot, nicely done, and now the top 4. All on 3-second penalties. Zench, I tell you what, through Sandoval is not that much of a, it's not a common place to make something happen. Very nicely done. But again, yeah, as we were saying, it's interesting. There's another yellow flag now. Sorry to keep interrupting myself, but Goon has lost it coming out of Anthony Nogues there. He's lost the end plate on the left front side. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen any safety car today, or virtual safety car for that matter. We've had at least 2 or 3 drivers DNF on track, especially in your case there, Marcus. You were kind of in a dangerous spot on the circuit, so a little surprised we didn't get any sort of delay in the racing. But hey, I'm never going to complain with no safety car, but has to be said, slightly odd. But again, I mean, it's difficult to try to have a league this big and have this many people from that many different countries and still, you know, keep the quality good. There's a couple of drivers noticeably on track. Safety cars glitched at Monaco and never come out. Gee, you know, I thought they fixed that, because that was a thing for the longest time. I could have swore they fixed that by now, but it must still be happening. Yeah, that is true. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, WEG having a bit of an off there going through Mirbeau atop the hill. Reimer within 4.5 tenths of a second here of Fear Luke, as they try to make their way down through the Neuville chicane. I don't think they fixed anything. Well, I tell you what, highly doubt it. And what's even better, this game comes out in less than a couple of months' time. The absolute dumpster fire that F1 23 has been, and they're releasing 24 a month earlier than they typically do. Yeah, that league racing is going to be dead by then. I remember 2021 game and 2020. The Midwest-based league I was just talking about, we had 7 full grids on Thursdays, and since then we're down to maybe can we get even divs 3 and 4 over 15. It's definitely a struggle. I mean, these games have just absolutely killed league racing. More drivers. Oh, well, Zench has made a mistake there, I believe, as they go through the swimming pool chicane there, as Maple Ace has gotten back around. Goon has picked up a 5-second penalty for crossing the pit lane exit line. Now, we saw that a couple of times earlier. Specifically, I think in one of the Aston Martin drivers' case, we saw them cross the line. Oh, big slide there for Reimer. Huge correction. Somehow, he keeps the car out of the barriers for the most part, and he keeps the front wing attached to the car. That was a huge accident. It could have been for the Ferrari. Wow, what a save. 6.5 tenths here for Zench. Again, on the 3-second penalty, his battle really isn't Maple Ace at the moment. At the line this time, we'll have 10 laps to go. As Jag Greg making his way. But again, I mean, this game has absolutely killed league racing, especially now that we're seeing more drivers move to iRacing, which, by and large, is the better thing to do. PCs are astronomically more expensive. They are better than console, I'll give it that much, but I mean, it's really the only option nowadays. Reimer there, another huge tank slapper going through Saint-Devat. That car definitely looks as if it's struggling at the moment here, as he was right close to Fear Luke going into Saint-Devat, and then once again, that car having a lot of rotation on the back end. Zench now within 4.5 tenths of Maple Ace once more, as down the pit straight they go. Yeah, he's not going to be close enough to make anything into Saint-Devat this time. Up the hill through Beau Rivage towards Massenet, 3.5 tenths of a second again. Zench's battle is not Maple Ace at the moment. If anything, I'd be more concerned of having your teammate behind kind of overtake you at this point. And we'll have to keep an eye on that. Reimer within 3.5 tenths of Fear Luke once again. I think whoever picks up another 3-second penalty out of the top three here will be at the disadvantage. They'll finish out of the bottom out of those three drivers. Maple Ace 26.5 seconds behind. Won't need to worry about having being overtaken on penalties unless you really do something wrong. Reimer, again, really struggling with the car at the moment, it has to be said. Going through Raskas that time, nearly gets the wall on the inside, as again, the back end really wants to come around from him. Zench back within 4 tenths of a second of Maple Ace here, getting closer to the last 5 laps of the Grand Prix. It's been a very fast-paced Monaco Grand Prix so far, has to be said, which is always good to see. After the full qualifying session we had, I tell you what, and there's been no lack of action either, has to be said. We've had some great action happening today. I'm not nearly as bored as I typically am casting a Monaco races. Now, here's Zench trying the outside, down the pit straight with DRS into Saint-Devat, through the corner they go. The Haas has it on the outside, and, well, there you go. Makes the overtake happen. I got it on camera as well, that's even better. That's brilliant stuff there. As Zench makes his way into fourth again, Maple Ace having the no penalty behind, surely going to re-overtake Zench as far as penalties are concerned come the end of the race, unless Maple Ace makes a mistake, which could always happen. Reimer within 3.5 tenths of Fear Luke here, this time as they go through into Raskas. Anthony Nogues up next. DRS activated here for the Ferrari. I tell you what, I've never really seen DRS maneuvers happen more than I have for Zench today. As Maple Ace, there you go. That's the 3-second time penalty that he was surely going to be trying to avoid, and he's picked it up going through the Neuville chicane. And now it looks as if the top 5 will hold position based on penalty alone. Very unfortunate for Maple Ace there. That 4th spot would have felt nice. He could still do it. He could make it happen on track. Those two have battled enough today to tell me that that move is very much in play, at least. This next time by will be 7 laps to go here. Through the tunnel they go. Reimer behind Fear Luke by 7 tenths of a second. Into the Neuville chicane they go. Oh, Reimer heavy over the inside curb there again. I'm surprised he hasn't picked up penalty for that. I'd like to be able to at least see when they pick up warnings and when not. I know they have the race director screen in the pause menu, but I don't want to leave the action to go and see that. So perhaps that's something to plead EA for. Although that's never going to happen. Down the pit straight they go now. Now again, this is interesting here. Fear Luke. Well, I could have swore he was going to have DRS to peak hour ahead, being that he's a back marker, but not the case. Up the hill through Beau Rivage and Massenet now, the Ferrari driver behind by 7 tenths of a second. And oh, by the way, we were talking earlier in the Grand Prix that Zench was kind of hovering around that 10th place mark. Now, coming into today, as Reimer, well, this time gets around Fear Luke. That time, coming out of Casino into Mirabeau, that Ferrari has made the spot. Genuinely, down the inside, he's made it happen. Well, anyways, as I was about to say, Zench, as we were talking about earlier, he was around that 9th and 10th place mark there in the early stages of the Grand Prix. We said, now going into tonight, Reimer is behind 30 points in the championship, the reigning defending champion, and he needed that. He kind of needed Zench to stay that deep in the grid in order to really make some gains in the championship here. But Zench has relatively, I mean, he's come up from 7th on the grid. Genuine overtakes as well, getting around Maple Ace. He did get around DWCJ. That was more of a inversion of position between the two Haas drivers. It looked more planned than Zench genuinely overtaking his teammate. But either way, point still stands. Zench has done well. And I'll need to do myself some calculating going into next week. But if I can look at the points, the points system now. I can find it anywhere. Yep, there it is. So, first place taking 30, second taking 25, third taking 21, fourth taking 18. So from Reimer to Zench now. I mean, that's a 7-point differential in the championship. That'll lower it to 23 points heading into Le Castellet next round. And that's if the results hold. Let's take a look at fastest lap for Gitz and Shiggles here. Fastest lap does belong to Reimer, so 22 points heading into Le Castellet next round if he's able to keep the second spot. If he loses it to Fear Luke, he'll only be 26 points, so a 4-point differential in the better direction. But Reimer, I mean, it's tough. It's tough because he's had a lot of results here that very much could have gone his way that just didn't. You know, whether for and a lot of them have truly been on his own mistake. It has to be said. Final 5 laps of the Grand Prix here. Goon within 0.3 of a second of Cavolas. Goon having 8 seconds of penalty with Peak Hour trying to sneak a peek behind. Sorry, is he 3 seconds ahead of the Williams? Where is the... Well, no, it must not be. The timing, well, it's just wrong. I mean, or is it? I mean, this is really weird. I'm looking at this now. The gap from... Oh, as he's really hit the wall there going through Casino to the inside now is Peak Hour, and that's another on-track overtake. And Peak Hour didn't even need to wait to the end of the Grand Prix for that one. He's done that one on track. Very nice. But again, a little bit of error on the timing charts on the left-hand side. This is clearly not a 1/10 of a second gap between Cavolas and that of Peak Hour. That's the 16 seconds that's being talked about now. So yeah, I don't really know what's going on there, but next time by will be 3 laps to go for Jag Greg. And, well, I tell you what, Jag Greg, to be in the position to begin with, it was very well. He started 3rd. Short Marcus, of course, led the Grand Prix from start until his crash after having come out of the pit lane. As Peak Hour, yep, that timing is just incorrect there. Oh, Justarini's hit the wall. Well, that was going in towards the Neuville chicane. That car had hit the barrier on the inside. And, well, I tell you what, Mid did well to avoid that one because that got very close to being catastrophic as Reimer. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Reimer, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Fear Luke is now within 0.6 of a second from taking the 2nd spot. And that, has to be said, is the personal mistakes that Reimer has been making. Of course, he's put an additional 2nd back to Fear Luke now. Fear Luke is net 1 second behind Reimer. He'll need to be within 3 to get the 2nd spot away from the Ferrari driver. Although it has to be said, Reimer is kind of clawing back at Jag Greg here. This is interesting because Jag Greg has the McLaren of Manny Kay ahead of him. And he's not really looking to overtake the McLaren too quickly here. Of course, the McLaren is ghosted. But this has kind of allowed Reimer to have the Williams back in, the Alpine in sight distance here. Of course, still 2.5 laps to go. Anything can happen. I've seen mistakes be made in less than this. That's for sure. On their way into the Neuville chicane now. Jag Greg doing well, still behind that of Manny Kay. Going through to back. We do have, that was Reimer getting around the Williams there. I think one of them, as they were ghosted. Reimer now within 3.5 seconds of Jag Greg. Of course, Reimer still, and now, mind you, Reimer is... Oh, well, Fear Luke, well, I was about to say, Reimer was only half a second to the good of Fear Luke, and Fear Luke has lost the car coming out of the swimming pool chicane, and has lost a bit of the front wing. That car perpendicular with the circuit now, and well, that's pretty much going to wrap up Reimer keeping second place. And I think Fear Luke, can he go 2 laps? Oh, Fear Luke is choosing to pit here. Of course, it's a 32-second gap between himself and Fear Luke, although I don't necessarily think that's correct. Oh, I tell you what, this is a close one here. These two are going to be dead even coming out of the pit lane. Fear Luke, the front wing only being put on now. Zench will take the 3rd spot over Fear Luke. Fear Luke, I'm a little surprised, couldn't go 2 laps on the remainder of the front wing that he had. He's down to 5th. Oh, that seems a bit of a howler strategical-wise there from Fear Luke, has to be said. I would have tried my best to at least stay on track. There was no way Zench was going to overtake him with how far behind he was unless he hit the wall a couple of more times. I mean, 32 seconds in 3 laps of Grand Prix is just never going to happen. And Fear Luke, that one, well, he's... I don't want to say he's done a Ferrari there, but if that's not the most Ferrari strategy call, you'll see. I don't know. And it was just purely the end plate on the left front side. Of course, it's. I will say, in fairness to him, that does hinder braking performance, as well as the downforce, which we know about. Final lap of the Grand Prix underway. And of course, it's not as drivable as it used to be. I remember there was a time you could theoretically get away with driving on yellow wing, even orange in some circumstances. That's not the case anymore. As we see now, Fear Luke, the 5th spot, about a 1.5 seconds to the good of losing the spot to DWCJ, but Jag Greg making his way into the tunnel for the final time. Reimer 3 seconds behind here. He's not going to be able to overtake the Alpine unless a mistake happens. Into the chicane they go for the final time. Oh, Fear Luke's Jag Greg has gone deep that time. That was nearly bad, Mandy K picking up 6 seconds of penalty total now. Jag Greg went deep into the Newville chicane that time, but into the swimming pool section for the final time here. Jag Greg, well, luck is definitely helpful, especially when you're in Monaco. Not only in the casino, but in the racing sense as well. And Jag Greg's had a lot of luck tonight. Across the line is Jag Greg. He will win the Monaco Grand Prix. Reimer across the line will finish second. Zench only making his way through the tunnel now. As, hang on a minute, Fear Luke trying to get to Maple Ace here. Side by side are these two. Into the chicane they go. Oh, that's a lot of contact there, side by side. Oh, and, well, I don't really know what to make of that when they were side by side going into the Newville chicane. In fairness, oh, and Maple Ace, well, I don't know if that was on purpose or not. Yeah, it must have been. Maple Ace has sportingly ceded position to Fear Luke there. I think in fairness to Maple Ace, he was on the inside there. They were even enough to not really know off the top of their head who had the rights to the corner. And, well, they were side by side on the way through. Maple Ace, I think, really doing the right thing there and allowing Fear Luke to have the spot. Because if he didn't, Fear Luke could have absolutely had that one penalized, and having lost, Maple Ace would have having lost the fourth position anyway. So I think Maple Ace doing the right thing there, allowing Fear Luke the 4th position. But now just waiting for Mid and Weg to cross the line. Jag Greg in the Alpine, your winner today for Hotspot. It's been a pleasure joining you this time out. I won't see you next week. I'll be on holiday for Easter, going back home for the weekend. But be sure to join us at Silverstone for round 10. We'll see you in a couple weeks.